This is going to be a very busy day for me because today not only is the launch of the iPhones for everybody who isn't in Apple's good graces and gets them early, but it is also the launch of the new AirPod Pros Gen 3, or just AirPod Pros 3, and I actually drove about 20-30 minutes away from where I normally pick up a lot of my electronics in store because around here they just didn't have them, but we finally got our hands on them. I should have pre-ordered them, that way I didn't have to drive 20 minutes, but regardless, we're just gonna kind of dive right in. So first off, the packaging itself is pretty standard Apple packaging. The one thing I noticed when I actually grabbed it from the store clerk is that like the text on the box is like, it's raised. I don't know why they did that. And I also noticed that it said this product contains a button cell coin battery. And of course it tells you not to let your children eat it. So I'll be sure not to let my daughter eat it. But I don't know what the coin button is for, or button cell battery is for, so I guess we'll see here in a minute. Also, this is the first of the AirPod Pros that I've personally owned that have a USB-C connector. I usually buy AirPod Pros once a generation, so I have Gen 1, Gen 2, and now I have Gen 3, but I buy them right away. So in this case, my AirPod Pros 2 that I've been using since they came out used Lightning, which means that to charge them, I had to use this cable, which is Lightning to USB-C. And before that, I had the standard first gen AirPod Pros, which obviously didn't have Lightning. So I brought both of them out. We're gonna compare the audio to both of these in a bit, but let's go ahead and just open this up. So standard peel experience. So get that out of the way here. There we go. Okay. Put that aside here, and I mean, that's AirPods. And so let's go ahead and see what we've got here. Maybe it tells us about the button cell. No. It does tell us to turn on Bluetooth, which is always on my phone here. And then it tells us how close we need to have it. I don't think the previous instructions had that. We have the fitment guide, which we do actually get one extra ear tip this time. So we now have extra small, oh no, actually, I'm sorry. Yeah, 5 instead of, I think the previous one was like 3. So we have XXS, extra small, medium, which looks like is gonna be pre-installed, and then large. And then it tells us how to turn on noise canceling. Oh, and this is the big thing, one of the big things that these AirPods have now, which is a heart rate monitor, which we saw on the, I wanna say it was the Beats, I think it was the Power Beats had that, which for people who don't know, Apple owns Beats, so that is kind of their test bed. And we have a double tap the case. Oh, okay, double tap the case to connect to other devices. So do we not have the previous ones? It's probably gonna be hard to see on camera, but the previous ones had this little like button on the back. It was just a pairing button. So I guess we'll see, but that is it for the instructions. Everything else is safety stuff, and of course no Apple stickers anymore. Rest in peace, I miss those. And we have the new AirPod Pros and the ear tips, and I get that we're trying to do, you know, USB-C all the things, but how much extra really would it have cost for Apple to include a freaking USB cable? There's no USB cable. We get ear tips, the headphones. Did they cut out the 5-cent freaking cable that you need so that they can keep the $250 price? I doubt it. A little rant here for a minute before I peel this off. Apple does so many things with products like these, the AirPods, especially the second generation, that I praise. Like the fact that they added hearing aid functionality, which I use regularly on these, and the fact that these will be getting that live translation feature because they have the same H2 chip as this generation, the newest one. But then they'd go and they don't ship you a USB-C cable. Like that is so freaking dumb. That's my rant over. They should have just included a C2C cable. I don't care if C2C is gonna be something that is adopted everywhere. Apple spent years not using it on their devices, so it would make sense that people don't have it in their ecosystem, but whatever. Okay, well, the case is definitely a lot cleaner looking. It doesn't have the pair button on the back, so quick comparison to the last gen. The case is almost the same. Actually, this case looks a little bit, this case is a bit larger, so that's interesting. There's no pairing button on the back, and interestingly, there is no charge indicator light on the front. Did they put it inside? Oh, that's actually really cool. Okay. You'll see it again here in a minute when I go to pair it. They put it under the plastic. That actually, I really like that touch. See, again, they do stuff like that, which is such a cool touch because it makes it just look a little bit cleaner, which is good because this is the only time it'll look this clean. So the light, obviously now we know that that's hidden underneath. No pairing button, still has that really nice metal hinge, even though the rest is plastic. We have the lanyard hook, which I thought was kind of a weird choice when they added that on the second gens, but I've seen plenty of people in my own personal life who use it, so different strokes for different folks. We have the pickups at the bottom, the speaker, and I believe it was a microphone. I don't remember. I know that these are used for the audio for Find My, which I've actually used quite a few times on my own, so that hasn't changed. But what has changed is, of course, the USB-C port. Now, to be fair, they did put USB-C on the second gens after the EU kind of slapped Apple's pee-pee and made them do it, but I now have USB-C on everything. Headphones, oh no, my AirPod Maxes don't, but either way, my daily carry headphones, as well as my personal phone, and pretty much everything else, including the camera that I'm using to film this on. So with all that out of the way, let's go ahead and flip the iPhone over, and we will go ahead and get this thing paired up. So now we know the light's underneath, so let's flip this puppy open. Give it a second, it should show up on my iPhone. It just made a noise, and there it is. Easy as that. We'll hit connect, and it should auto-magically pair. There we go. Place both AirPods in your ears. All right, well, I guess we're getting right into it. Ooh, the shape is different. The shape is different on these. They said they would be, but yeah, so we've got our, looks like, well, all right, let's go ahead and just put them in, and we'll go to that later. All right, so I definitely think medium is going to be the size that fits the best. It's just going to, okay, so it's just giving me a demonstration of how to do this. Okay, the pass-through on these is a lot, like, it's a lot crispier sounding, which is interesting. So to say crispier sounding, it definitely sounds like there's a lot more like higher tones and mid tones. Not as much bass, which is kind of what the AirPod Maxes do, but the AirPod Maxes pass it through in such a way that it does have a more noticeable sound. Now I'm wondering if I'm going to have to reconfigure the hearing aid function with this. I might have to. And live translation, so if we hold both of these, it will go into live translation. Hola, ¿cómo estás? Oh, it's telling me that if I want to use it, use the live translation, I have to download languages to my phone. So let's set it up and see what we have. So we have none of the languages that would be useful to me. I'm waiting for the Mandarin one to come through because my wife and her family, my wife obviously speaks English, but most of my extended family on that side of the family is going to be Mandarin. So not here yet, so I'll skip it for now, but as soon as we get Mandarin available, I'm definitely going to do that. So it does look like oh man. So it's saying I got to take a hearing test. So I guess that makes sense because when I did it on the AirPod Pros 2, it was saved to the AirPods, but I thought it would at least be backed up to the iPhone, but it looks like it isn't. So that kind of sucks. And that's it. So we got 30% on the headphones and 60%, 63% on the case. I'm going to take these out real quick, and I'm actually going to put my other pair, well, I'm going to leave one out, and I'm going to compare the two. So let's go ahead. So from the first, so this is the third gen, this is the second gen, and let's take a look. So first, second, third gen. So first to second, really nothing changed. Kind of looks the same. Third gen is a very different shape, and you can actually see right there, you can actually see the heart rate monitor. So this will take the heart rate from your ear. Now, I know with the Power Beats, one of the things that people pointed out is if you're wearing an Apple Watch, it pulls the heart rate from the Apple Watch and not from the headphones. So it just depends on where it's pulling or it depends on what you're wearing, where it pulls the heart rate from. And one of the things I did notice as well, so if I take the little ear tip off, which is very gross, it's flat. The top of the speaker grill is actually flat, and the same thing goes for the first gen. So the first and second gens were actually interchangeable, and I remember that being the case because I used my first gens on my second gens. In this case, with the newest generation, a couple things have changed. So you can still take, I believe, can you? I think you should still be, well, obviously you can because you can change them. So there we go. So yeah, the actual speaker grill is considerably smaller, actually. That speaker grill is considerably smaller than the first and second gen speaker grills, although they claim it sounds better, which we'll see here in a minute. But also, that speaker grill stands quite a ways above the casing, which of course means that your ear tips are not going to be cross-compatible like they were in the last generation, which kind of sucks, but Apple will continue to Apple until people make Apple stop being Apple. Oh yeah, I guess I should mention the ear tips. So it looks like there's a QR code here. So let's see what the QR code does, if it lets me scan it. So the QR code, let's see, just takes me to a guide on how to find the right fit. So that's cool. And yeah, so we get more this time. So we have multiple sizes. Now the ones already attached are mediums, and I'm gonna leave those on because they seem to fit just fine. But for people who have varying sizes of ears, which is just how humans work, you have multiple options. So that is always nice to see. Let's go ahead and I'm gonna listen to my first gens and then my second gens, and we'll see what the difference is once we throw in the third gen. So let's kind of just have a listen. Not bad, although I did forget that one of the reasons why I upgraded from the first gen to the second gen was because these actually started suffering from a pretty common issue with these first gens, which was the fact that these started to crackle. And I don't know what the cause was. It was something, I believe, with the microphones, but I don't remember exactly what the cause was. So yeah, these do not particularly sound good due to that crackle, but hey, at least you have a pair of headphones from quite a while ago that still work more or less. And I believe Apple still has some sort of warranty or a replacement option on those. So let's go ahead and give the second gens a listen, and then we'll get to the third. I didn't mention it in the first test, but I'm using Emergence from Sleep Token because it has a pretty good high range, mid range, and low range in this starting portion here. So that's what I'm using to test. Yeah, something that people mention a lot with these AirPods, especially when they did testing, is like they have a live EQ, or I forget what they call it, dynamic EQ. Basically, it listens to what is being played into your ear and tries to balance the EQ accordingly. So it's kind of hard to get a good waveform for it, but what tests have shown when they do get a waveform for these is that these are pretty flat. And for people who don't know what flat headphones are, when you listen to something like Beats or, God forbid, Skull Candies, it's what I would call the smiley face curve. So you end up with a lot of mids, or a lot of highs, not a lot of mids, and a lot of lows, because people like bass and they like things to sound sparkly. Sometimes it's a tuning choice and sometimes it's a just limitation of the speaker design. But in this case, I know the AirPod Pros, the second gens, were pretty balanced, pretty flat. So now we get to see what the third gens are like. Are you carved out of my nano, red glass on my light bulb? There's a lot more depth to the bass on these, I'll give them that. It's pretty much the same when it comes to the mids and the highs. I'd say the highs might have a little more sparkle to them, but overall the tones are pretty close. The bass has the most clarity improvements, which makes sense because one of the things Apple talked about in the keynote was that the venting for the speakers allows for better movement. I forget exactly what they called it. It was some obviously Apple brand style naming, but yeah, so you are getting I would say you're getting more clarity in the bass. I wouldn't really say that it's a massive sound improvement, but you can definitely turn the volume up a bit higher and not run into any sort of distortion, which you didn't really get a lot of on the AirPod Pros 2s, but if you cranked it, which I know a lot of people in my friend group do, you can definitely get them to distort at the highest, most extreme levels of bass and highs, but these, I could see them going almost all the way up without any sort of noising issues. Another thing Apple claimed with these is that it has 2 times more unwanted noise, so basically 2 times better noise cancellation than the AirPod Pros 2s, and 4 times the noise cancellation improvements of the AirPod Pros 1. Now, something I am going to test for the full-length video, which by the way, make sure you subscribe so you don't miss that, is I like to actually sit down and play drums with my AirPod Pros in, and I actually don't use my AirPod Pros 2s for drumming. I actually use the AirPod Pros 1s because when you play with the 2s, the hi-hat, which is the highest like kind of sound, just it rips through the noise cancellation and makes it almost painful to listen to. But the AirPod Pros 1s don't really worry about that. So I'll be curious to see how those hold up. But in general, well, it does a better job of canceling out my voice because now it just sounds like what I hear through my, like the vibrations in my skull. That's kind of weird. Maybe it's an improvement. Let's see. Oh wow, actually, yeah, that's actually pretty considerable. Oh yeah. All right. Wow. That actually gives me some hope for the, that gives me some hope for when I do drumming with these. Part of that might also be because on the AirPod Pros 2s and even the first gens, the ear tips were exclusively rubber. So you just had a rubber seal and then you had the noise cancellation doing all the rest of the work. Whereas with these are actually foam-infused ear tips. So you have the rubber, but these also have foam in them, which may also explain why they have kind of a firmer feel than the ones on the 2s, and also why they seem to, at least from just the initial impressions, seat much better in my ear. I'm definitely not looking forward to having to redo the hearing test, but it is what it is. I guess we'll just do that and see what happens. But regardless, I'm kind of impressed with these AirPods. There was one other big thing for me that's going to make a huge difference with these, which is the fact that they will now get 8 hours of battery life with noise cancellation. That is a big deal for me because with my traveling that I'm going to be doing, especially with the long flight from San Francisco to Taiwan, that's a 10-hour flight. And I gotta be honest, it really sucks when you fall asleep with these in and suddenly you're awoken by doo 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 doo, followed by a really loud airplane sound. So the fact that these last for 8 hours means that I will probably be able to fall asleep with these in and naturally just wake up when I feel like my body's gonna wake up, and these will still be alive because I don't sleep through obviously the entire 10-hour flight, so that will definitely be nice. I know in the full video, I'm definitely going to test out the heart rate monitor by not wearing my Apple Watch and going on a walk with just these and my phone, so we'll see how that goes. But overall, considering these things, as I said at the beginning, are the same price as the second generations, I definitely think these are a worthwhile improvement. If you don't already have a pair of AirPod Pros 2s, or you're in the same camp as me, and your pair are a little over 4, almost 4 years old. I think almost 4 years old. So for the same price, these will definitely be worth it. However, something you may want to keep in mind is that if Apple continues to sell the 2s, or even if it's while supplies last, these will for sure go on sale. So if you don't want to drop $250 for the newest generation, you can always go for the previous generation. And now that I'm actually like holding them next to one another, this case feels a bit lighter, which normally would make it feel cheaper, but in this case it doesn't feel cheaper, it just feels lighter. Like the quality is still there, it just doesn't feel as dense. But anyway, these might be a better option for you if you're looking for a good deal on a pair of AirPods, but these are definitely going to be the best option if you want the best AirPods experience. Either way though, that's been the AirPod Pros 3 unboxing. My first unboxing video on this channel, believe it or not. Like, I've done unboxings in full review videos, but I've never done exclusively an unboxing video. So hopefully you all enjoyed it. Leave some comments down below letting me know what you all think. The next unboxing video should also be today. It's going to be the iPhone 17 Pro and Pro Max, one of which is in the new color, so I'm excited for that. But otherwise, thank you all so much for watching. Like and subscribe so you can let me know that you do enjoy this content and that you want to see more of it. And aside from that, I'll see you all in the next video. Thanks for being here and have a good one.